Hello and welcome to episode 2 of The Conversation with Reflow Field Management. My name is Josh, and in this episode I'm going to be joined by some of my colleagues here at Reflow, and we're going to be discussing what field management software actually is and how it can benefit businesses.
Thanks for joining me today, everyone. Before we start, if we could just go around the table, because there's a few of us, and just say who you are and what you do at Reflow.
I'm Dan Moyes, Sales Manager here at Reflow. So I'm here to help deliver the system via demonstrations to our prospects and clients, account manage and lead my team and go on expositions and make sure that we're showing everybody our system.
I'm Ashley Wing. I'm the Head of Sales and Marketing at Reflow. Been with the company for about coming up to just 5 years, and I'm kind of everywhere in Reflow. So people watching this may have interacted with me in the past through support, but now they're probably seeing me more kind of chasing them down for a case study and things like that. But yeah, it's good fun.
I'm Mick Belchick. I'm a marketing executive at Reflow, and I do a lot of our copywriting, and a lot of that involves doing research around field management in our industries.
And I'm Rob Telland, Head of Support in Reflow. I look after the support, onboarding and project management teams.
So we're going to start off with a really, really tricky one. So in summary, what is field management software? Because there's loads of different names that get thrown about all over the place. Really popular one is the field service management.
Yeah.
And that's not quite the same thing, is it?
No.
So if we could just summarise what field management software actually is.
I can answer that for you, Josh. So field management software, we're all about getting the source of truth from the field delivered back to your office. And that is about collecting data in the field, be it form-based or process-driven, making sure things are signed, making sure safety and compliance is achieved, and having all of that information available at real time. This way of collecting the data is more of a field-managed way with the operatives in mind, delivered by an app, which is what Reflow does very well.
And some of the things where people might get confused is they might be looking for something like a project management solution, which is slightly different, although there are elements of that within our system as it is. But another one that people might kind of cross over with, or used to cross over with, was field service management. That's kind of more of a smaller base solution for smaller companies. So it's kind of like one man goes out and fixes a boiler. We're really all about scalability. So like teams of 10 up to like teams of 100, team of 1,000, etc. Moving on and on.
How does field management software improve like scheduling processes for teams? Because obviously, as you said, some teams can be enormous, some teams can only be 10 people or so.
Well, on a day-to-day basis, they're able to schedule out all their teams using our scheduling module of our software. And beyond that, it's also got a resource allocation feature now. So it enables them to actually not just to be able to schedule people out and send those packs of information they need to collect the data. They can actually get almost like forecasting on what availability they've got of their resources. So there's no clashing of assets, and what they're looking to schedule out is actually what they've got.
So what are some of the key features of a field management software package that sort of facilitate the tracking and monitoring of some of the stuff that people might get up to when they're out and about in the field?
The main thing is the app. I mean, the app was thought about and designed with the operative in mind, built from the ground up. So we keep it simplistic yet powerful to ensure that information is captured, whether it's form-driven or whether it's signing documentation or just having the knowledge and the education, because as we all know, managing skills and enforcing that is incredibly difficult as we're sort of moving on in this new sort of digital age. So we ensure that the knowledge base is there available to any operatives, and it's all a push of a button. That's the main thing, really. The main skill is through the apps.
I was going to say, Mick, we did that article, didn't we, on what is field management in your research? Because obviously we were looking at multiple systems, not just our own. What were some of the features that in that article that you consolidated together?
What I found is that there is generally a lot of variation in terms of features when it comes to all sorts of different software packages, but there is sort of an underlying core foundation of features, which is what Dan was talking about, the app, the dashboard, that sort of connection between the office and the site. And that's the most important part, obviously, because it facilitates that real-time data exchange, scheduling, asset management, planning. Everything's built from that. But then there's certain solutions that are more tailored to specific industries like construction or rail, and they'll integrate processes that wouldn't really apply anywhere else. I've seen some construction ones which implement parts of BIM software and that kind of planning, like 3D model viewing, which doesn't really apply anywhere else. Reflow in itself is very adaptable. It doesn't handle these really niche kind of features, but it's so flexible that it can spread to many industries, which is why we operate in so many and have so many clients across such a wide variety of sectors.
Yeah. So you mentioned a bit about data collection bits and pieces there. So how does software help streamline the data collection process? Because I can imagine that some companies out there will process millions and millions of bits of data for one project. So kind of how does it facilitate making that as simple as possible?
Well, we have there's several features in there that enable it to do that. And a key, I guess, where it all started with was just simply filling out a form and attaching a photo as part of that. And the system's robust enough that we've got some huge groundworks companies that we work with, and they're sending thousands of forms, aren't they? They're is that MV Kelly is one of those clients? I mean, you know them better than I do in terms of the data.
Look, I think one of the major things that we can help with is the automations that we can put in place with these forms. So rather than the forms just arriving in a raw data format to someone, we can run some calculations, total up things from them, carry out other actions on the back of them. So whereas someone might need to look through a whole bunch of, say, vehicle defect report forms at the end of a week, we automatically pick up that there's a defect that's been reported, flag that vehicle so it can't be assigned to any future jobs, notify the person's manager that the vehicle isn't in use anymore, notify someone to set up an MOT for the vehicle, all off the back of one form, rather than it needing to be someone actually thinking about what needs to happen with that data next.
Yeah, I think the key thing as well is that all these processes are happening in a really simplified user interface, which is one of the key strengths. And we see that all the time when we're at expos, don't we? They always talk about how easy the app is to use and how nice the dashboard looks, which I think
That's what's key, isn't it? It has to be really simple to use and powerful. But as Rob was saying with the automations, that delivers all the information to come back in a certain time or a certain process or trigger somebody else to go and do something. And that increases efficiency, boosts productivity, which in turn allows companies to grow. And that's what it's all about. We've had many companies that would come back within just a few months of having Reflow and go, well, we've saved a day a week. That's where the return on their investment's coming from, which is what Reflow's all about, really, and how we can handle that data better.
How does field management software optimize all of that asset management process that people might need to do?
it's about, and this is field management in a nutshell, really. It's about being able to know what's where, when, and who, where are your assets? And one of those things is that with that whole asset management part of our system is that as soon as someone interacts with, say, a vehicle or a piece of plant, they know exactly who engaged with that and where it was last known to be. But beyond that, we can also, because we can inject data back in from the field through a form submission, as an example, it can actually inject that data of, say, the user back against a record. So when you've got your lists of records and your data sets, those aren't static. Those are actually active lists that are continuously changing based on what's happening in the field, which is actually one of the most powerful things about, I think, Reflow. And it just means that all the back office staff can actually instantly get lists of things and their current state. They're not having to wait for anyone to tell them or do anything. And that's really part of the efficiency of what the software provides in itself.
For companies that do the larger works, what are the benefits of integrating something like Reflow or another package with some of the other systems that they use, like Xero or CRM systems or ERP systems?
We have financial connectors out of the box, Sage Business Cloud Accounting, QuickBooks, Xero, and we see a lot of Xero connectors being used, but that helps them have a 360 solution, create their workflows from start to finish and having their financials sent over to their billing system, but using the information captured from the field. That works really, really well. But like I said, a lot of other companies, they want to create a software stack. They want to use the field management to gain that data, that source of truth from the field, and then deliver it and filter it through ERPs, using CRMs to push and pull data as well. And that then really becomes a very neat solution for everyone. And Reflow can do that. We have the teams and the expertise here to discuss the options of integration, and we have the API. There's a lot of flexibility.
Mick, I know you've done loads of research into like health and safety and compliance. So how can field management software enhance compliance and health and safety just so that everybody gets home safely at the end of the day?
I think it all comes back to where it all comes back to, which is data. It's about harvesting data, getting that data back quicker. And it's just about making admin teams, SHE teams more reactive. And in addition to that, because this data is digital, it's building audit trails is just effortless now. You have access to all that data. There's no paper. You don't have to, dig through anything, look back. It's all there in the system, stored in the cloud. You can rectify non-conformities much, much quicker. So, jobs can restart, get moving quicker. Everyone's safe. And part of that is the forms. You harvest the forms, the form data, and you can enforce completion processes. So no one's, cutting corners. Everyone knows exactly what they have to do. And, more powerful field management solutions let you build forms, geofencing. There's lots of these little enhancements that just take it to the next level.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Of course, I'd agree with that. But it's but this is then touching back onto what Rob was saying earlier about like automations as well, because that's part of that process. It's about basically not just speeding things up, but also about making sure compliance is at a certain level, and to make sure there is no miscommunication as part of that process. And automation 100% does that. We've now got built within our system, as well as these form triggers that trigger, say, an app notification, like a badge notification. But on top of that, we're also even looking ahead of that. So like looking at like chained voice calling and things like that. So you'd actually have a phone call that would then have a voice at the end render out the name of the job and the person. So, that would be a great solution for things around like lone working, for example. So it's all, again, data, automation, compliance, process, and just making sure that we create the features and the tool sets to, streamline that process as much as possible.
What other ways can field management software like really help manage like cash flow for businesses?
To increase profits, you need to either have a product that's going to make more money, or you need to streamline your operations, and you need to be more efficient, and you need to be more productive. So Reflow will do that very well. The things that we can put in place and the time saving that we can place, and will save them a considerable amount of time. Things like signing off forms, it all sounds very simple, but if that form wasn't given back, then you could get audited and that was missed, and then, fines could come from there. So you're protecting yourself. But as simple as transcribing the information, someone calls you and goes, this is what I've done. There's a phone call, there's a data entry process. Our system will just do that from a touch of a button on an application. Through their phone, and be delivered in PDF format within seconds at the other side, all there and available to them. It could be 50 pages long, but it's a split second, and this is a real time saver, which generates more time in the office to be able to do more things, grow the company, and in turn increase profits.
What are some success stories that highlight the positive impact that field management software has on businesses?
We don't put these systems in place unless there is a success story. Reflow is all about streamlining operations and making everything more efficient and simpler to use. everybody, once they've carved their system into their business the way that they want to do it, will have some sort of success story. And I don't believe as well that, we're a generation that's creating all of this now and finding our feet with this sort of digital age. But we are just sort of passengers on this journey because we're doing it for the next generation. There is our children that's going to be joining these companies and expecting all of these processes to be available. So we've got the age to go away from paper and be 100% digital, and that's what our job is now, to get there. So it's not, to answer your question, yes, there's lots of case studies that we could reel off with lots of different successes. I can think of all sorts of companies, from highways to landscaping, tree surgeons, all sorts, but they are starting the journey for the next generation to be even more successful, and that's what I feel that we're here to do.
One of our clients now that Dan brought on, which was Golden Tree Surgeons.
Yeah.
So that is one of my favourite case studies because that their on board, it was like rapid, wasn't it? It was like they did.
It was in within about 3 or 4 days. Yeah, they could see it instantly on how that's going to help them. So they wanted to jump straight into having the onboarding the live system very, very quickly.
Before even the trial was done, which I love, and that's why we use that as part of some of our marketing stuff, because it's such like an inspirational kind of, well, aspirational really for everyone. We want everyone to have that kind of journey, but they got the system really quick, and their processes and everything were clearly defined. They just got that in very quickly.
Groundlord is another
Groundlord.
one. What I like with a lot of these companies, everybody will provide the tools to give you the facilities of what you need for field management system, but you've got to carve your own journey, and all businesses are very, very different. And every time we talk to a business, it's going to be, they've done it in a certain way and they want to achieve this. It could be completely different processes. But Groundlord, we spent a considerable amount of time on the trial working things out, and they're very engaged, and we spent a lot of time working out all the forms and things that they actually needed, and actually starting to build a couple of the forms for a real pilot so they could actually test them, their own forms, their own language, which has allowed them then, once they've got to the onboarding stage, to sort of springboard straight into the live platform, because their trial system was really well carved during that process, and the commitment that we spent just sort of working on it. And now, they're really getting on with their system. It's really, really helping with their organisation. And I met them at the show, and it was great going from a quick conversation on the stand to several appointments and carving that trial out, doing some forms, and now going through our support team and seeing where they are. So I hope to see them at another show this year, and or go up and see them soon, because it's great to see that when they can go forward in that way.
From your side, Rob, with the support side, is a field management solution predominantly everything they expected it to be, or is there still questions there where they thought there was other aspects to it that it could do? Or
Yeah, there does tend to be a bit of a general confusion about whether field management covers everything that the company could need as a company that works in the field, or whether it's a part of that process. And one of the most common ones is to do with finances, and we're able to facilitate and gather the information, but it's not something that we specialize in to such an extent as something like, say, QuickBooks or Sage. But where we handle that is that we gain that information, and then we have integrations with these kind of extra companies so that we can then pass that information on to another company that can handle it better.
I mean, it's the way to look at it. It's like, you don't expect like Word to do everything that Excel does. There's like this, they may both be by Microsoft, but they both have very different skill sets and what they're able to accomplish. And I think when some people come on, although we do a lot and we do cover a broad range of features and outcomes as part of that, there will come a point where if they're looking to drill right down into really deep financial data, we can give them the data that was part of that, but then there's a connector to pass that information on. So as part of our evolution as a business is to make sure that we're putting these processes in place where they can easily, pass that data on to an appropriate software as part of that, as opposed to just doing it all within Reflow.
I mean, I think a lot of that just highlights how important these kind of onboarding and trialing processes are, which is one thing I came across quite a lot, is that businesses looking to adopt these kind of solutions they really need to take full advantage of the onboarding and trial process and working out, okay, what are my expectations? How do these softwares meet those expectations? Because like we said at the start, there's a lot of variation in what it can do. Even though it's all called field management software, you could have the most amazing piece of software in the world, and if that onboarding isn't there, then you're just going to be left in the dark. What we have at Reflow is a collaborative process rather than just a piece of software that you pick up off the shelf.
Yeah.
And I think that's how people need to look at it, that it's something that will go on for years and years and years, and you need to make sure it's going to grow with your business.
So, Dan, you mentioned we head out and about to shows quite a bit. If people wanted to find out more about what we do and what we can offer, where can they see us throughout the year?
Yeah, we've got a lot of shows. I know we usually sort of 9-10 shows a year. Our main ones, Trafex, Highways UK, Futurescape. We've just come from Future Build. So these sort of large shows, which are all on our website on the news section, Reflow on the Road. We're looking forward to having a really busy summer. Hopefully people can come and find us. You'll be able to see us.
Yeah, it's going to be busy. So we're going to be at Plantworks as well. And after that, we're going to be at Rail Live. And then after that, I think it's Highways UK. Yeah, if people want more information, they can call us on 01392 574 002 or just ping us an email.
Amazing. Brilliant. Thank you all so much for taking some time out of your afternoon.
To find out more about field management software and how it can take your business to the next level, head to re-flow.co.uk, book a demo and qualify for a free trial. To keep up with all the latest Reflow news, make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels.